I remember thinking I had it all. A marriage people envied. The kind where you finish each other's sentences. Then one headache changed everything. After collapsing during my presentation, doctors discovered a brain aneurysm. I needed 3 surgeries and months of recovery. While fighting for my life, Samantha was fighting for something else, freedom from our vows. She cheated with her coworker David, then coldly asked for divorce while I lay in my hospital bed. Her words still haunt me. I didn't sign up to be a caretaker. 4 years later, I've rebuilt my life. New business, new relationship. Then Samantha shows up begging for forgiveness. Before I continue, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit like and subscribe to hear how I responded when my ex-wife came crawling back. At 32 years old, I had established myself as a successful architect in Chicago. My career was thriving, and I had just been assigned to design an innovative commercial complex downtown. Life was good, but it got even better when I met Samantha at a charity gala 5 years ago. Samantha was a 30-year-old marketing executive with ambition that matched my own. She had these captivating blue eyes and a laugh that made everyone around her smile. We connected immediately over our shared love of modern art and Italian food. That night, we talked until the venue staff started cleaning up around us. Our romance was a whirlwind. After 6 months of dating, I proposed during a weekend trip to Lake Michigan. 3 months later, we were married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. Everyone commented on how perfect we seemed together. The first 3 years of our marriage were everything I had hoped for. We bought our dream home in the suburbs, a beautiful craftsman with a yard, where we planned to watch our future children play. We talked about starting a family within the next year. Samantha and I both worked hard in our careers, but always made time for each other. My architecture firm was growing, and I was becoming known for my innovative, sustainable designs. Samantha was climbing the ladder at her marketing firm, impressing clients with her creative campaigns. Our social circle was filled with friends who often commented on how they envied our relationship. "You guys are relationship goals," our friend Taylor would say during our monthly dinner parties. Samantha would squeeze my hand under the table when people made comments like that. I thought it meant she felt the same way I did. Looking back, there were small signs I ignored. Samantha would sometimes seem distant, checking her phone constantly during our date nights. When I would ask about it, she would blame work stress, and I believed her. Why wouldn't I? We were the perfect couple after all. Then the headaches started. At first they were mild and infrequent. I dismissed them as stress from a particularly demanding project I was working on. But over the course of 2 months, they became more intense and frequent. Samantha suggested I see a doctor, but I kept putting it off, convinced they would eventually subside. Until that Tuesday morning. I was in the middle of presenting design concepts to a major client when a pain shot through my head so severe that I collapsed mid-sentence. My colleague Frank called an ambulance while trying to keep me conscious. At the emergency room, doctors ordered immediate tests. The diagnosis came back quickly and devastatingly, a brain aneurysm that could rupture at any moment. I needed emergency surgery. Samantha arrived at the hospital in tears, clutching my hand as the medical team prepared me for the operating room. "I cannot lose you," she whispered as they wheeled me away. "Fight for us, Gerald." The first surgery went relatively well, but complications developed within 48 hours. Increased pressure in my brain required a second procedure. 2 weeks later, an infection necessitated a third surgery. What was supposed to be a week-long hospital stay turned into 3 months, with doctors projecting an additional 8 months of recovery before I could return to work. The financial strain was immediate and severe. Even with good insurance, the deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses were substantial. Add to that the extended time away from my firm, and our comfortable financial situation quickly became precarious. During the first few weeks, Samantha was attentive and supportive. She visited daily, often working remotely from my hospital room. She brought home cooked meals when I could finally eat solid food again, and fresh clothes to make me feel more human. She coordinated with my doctors and handled the insurance paperwork. My best friend Jake, who I had known since elementary school and was now a doctor at a different hospital across town, visited regularly to check on me and translate the medical jargon. About a month into my hospitalization, Jake pulled me aside during one of his visits. "Have you noticed anything different about Samantha?" he asked carefully. I hadn't, but once Jake mentioned it, I couldn't unsee the changes. Samantha's visits became shorter and less frequent. She always had an excuse, an important client meeting, mandatory overtime traffic. She seemed distracted during her visits, constantly checking her phone and stepping out to take calls. When I asked about a new perfume she was wearing, she dismissed my question, saying I was being paranoid from all the medication. She became protective of her phone, angling the screen away when I was nearby. These were all red flags I should have recognized, but in my weakened state, I doubted my own perceptions. My sister Melissa flew in from California when she heard about my third surgery. She immediately picked up on the tension between Samantha and me. "Something's not right with her," Gerald Melissa said after Samantha left one evening, claiming she needed to prepare for an early meeting. "She barely looked at you the entire visit." I defended Samantha, explaining the pressure she was under working full-time while dealing with a sick husband. But even I was beginning to have doubts. Those doubts were confirmed the day I overheard Samantha in the hallway outside my room. I had woken up from a nap earlier than expected, and her voice carried through the partially open door. She was having a heated conversation with someone. "I cannot keep doing this," she said in a hushed but intense tone. "It is too complicated. He needs me here, but I need to be with you." My heart sank as I realized my worst fears might be coming true. The confirmation came 2 days later. My phone had died, and I needed to order dinner since Samantha had texted saying she would be late due to a work meeting. I asked if I could use her phone when she briefly stopped by to drop off clean clothes. She handed it to me without thinking, probably because she was distracted by a call she had just received from her boss. When I unlocked her phone intending to use the food delivery app, a text notification appeared from someone named David. Curiosity and suspicion got the better of me. I tapped on it. What I found shattered my world. Months of explicit text exchanges between Samantha and David, a colleague from her marketing department. The messages revealed a 3-month affair that had started shortly after my first surgery. There were intimate photos, plans for hotel meetups during times she had told me she was working, and worse discussions about their future together. I scrolled through the messages with trembling hands, each one a knife to my heart. In one exchange, David asked if Samantha felt guilty about seeing him while her husband was in the hospital. "Gerald and I were having problems before his surgery," she had replied. "This just accelerated what was already happening. I care about him, but I am not in love with him anymore. When he recovers, I will ask for a divorce." I sat there, hospital gown, clinging to my still healing body, reading about how my wife had planned to leave me once I was well enough to receive the news without a medical setback. The betrayal was complete when I read her messages from that very morning. "Just dropping off clothes for G, then I will meet you at our spot. Cannot wait to feel your arms around me." When Samantha returned from her call, she found me sitting with her phone in my hand, tears streaming down my face. Her expression shifted from confusion to recognition to defensive anger in the span of seconds. "You went through my private messages," she demanded, snatching the phone from my hand. "You are cheating on me," I said, my voice barely audible. "While I am fighting for my life, you are sleeping with someone else." Her response lacked any genuine remorse. Instead, she became cold and defensive. "You emotionally neglected me for months before your surgery," she claimed. "Always working late, barely noticing me. Then this happened, and suddenly I am supposed to put my life on hold indefinitely. For better or worse, in sickness and in health," I reminded her, referencing our vows from just 3 years earlier. Her next words cut deeper than any surgeon's scalpel. "I didn't sign up to be a nurse for the rest of my life, Gerald. I am 30 years old. I cannot waste my youth taking care of an invalid." Right there in my hospital room, with monitors beeping and IV fluids dripping into my arm, Samantha asked for a divorce. She claimed she and David had a connection I could never understand. She wanted freedom to pursue that relationship without the guilt of betraying me hanging over her. The emotional shock sent my vitals spiraling. A nurse rushed in when the monitors started alarming, and Samantha was asked to leave while they stabilized me. My doctor later warned that emotional stress could seriously impact my recovery and potentially lead to dangerous complications. Samantha did not visit the next day, or the day after that. When I underwent my third emergency surgery to address a complication that could have been stress-induced, she was nowhere to be found. Jake and Melissa were my rocks during this time, taking shifts to ensure I was never alone. After 3 months, I was finally discharged from the hospital. Jake drove me home, preparing me for what I might find, but nothing could have readied me for the reality. Half of our belongings were gone. Samantha had systematically moved her things out while I was hospitalized. The framed photos of our wedding, our honeymoon in Italy, our third anniversary trip to Hawaii, all removed from the walls, leaving conspicuous empty spaces. I learned through my lawyer that Samantha had been planning her departure for weeks, consulting with a divorce attorney while I was undergoing my second surgery. The divorce papers were delivered to my hospital room the day before my discharge, a final act of cruelty that demonstrated how little regard she had for my well-being. Her demands were as cold as her behavior. Half of all our assets, including my pre-marriage savings that I had accumulated over years of careful financial planning to one day start my own firm. She refused to contribute to my medical bills despite her legal obligation as my spouse at the time the care was provided. My own lawyer advised settlement rather than a protracted legal battle, citing my health condition and the additional stress it would cause. I reluctantly agreed, wanting only to move forward with my life without the constant reminder of her betrayal. The financial impact was devastating. Between the medical expenses not covered by insurance and the divorce settlement, I was forced to sell our dream home just to stay afloat. The house we had planned to fill with children's laughter sold at a loss in a buyer's market. The emotional toll was even greater. I spiraled into depression and anxiety with occasional suicidal thoughts that terrified me with their intensity. Jake temporarily moved into the small apartment I rented after selling the house, concerned enough about my mental state that he didn't want to leave me alone. The lowest point came 3 months after my discharge. After a particularly difficult physical therapy session where I had failed to meet any of my recovery goals, I came home and sat in the dark for hours, a bottle of prescription pain medication in my hand. Jake found me there contemplating ending the pain permanently. "This is not how your story ends," Jake said, taking the bottle from my unresisting fingers. "You did not fight through 3 brain surgeries to let her destroy you. Not on my watch." That night marked my turning point. I decided that while Samantha had taken many things from me, she would not take my future or my will to live. I would fight not just for survival, but for a meaningful life after betrayal. The road back was longer and harder than the initial recovery from my surgeries. For 8 months, I endured grueling physical and occupational therapy sessions 3 times a week. The brain injury had affected my spatial reasoning skills, a devastating blow for an architect. I had to relearn how to conceptualize designs in 3 dimensions, rebuilding neural pathways through sheer determination. I joined a support group for people who had experienced betrayal during serious illness. Hearing other stories helped me realize I wasn't alone in this particularly cruel form of abandonment. Many shared how their partners had left when the healthy future they had envisioned together was threatened. Therapy became a lifeline. My therapist, Dr. Russell, helped me process the trauma of both the health crisis and the betrayal. He guided me through the stages of grief, allowing me to acknowledge my anger while not letting it consume me. Most importantly, he helped me understand that Samantha's actions reflected her character, not my worth. Some people simply lack the capacity for true commitment, Dr. Russell explained during one session. When faced with adversity, they reveal who they truly are. Your value as a person did not diminish because she chose to leave. Slowly, I began rebuilding my self-worth and learning to trust again, although the latter proved much more challenging. I made a bold decision to start my own architecture firm specializing in accessible design. My experience navigating the world during recovery had opened my eyes to how poorly designed many spaces were for people with disabilities or mobility issues. I moved to a smaller apartment in a completely different neighborhood, wanting a fresh start away from the memories of my life with Samantha. Jake and Melissa helped me furnish the place with new items that had no association with my previous life. It was modest compared to the home I had shared with Samantha, but it was mine, a physical manifestation of my new beginning. Financially, the first year was a constant struggle. I had to rebuild from almost nothing while managing ongoing medical debt. I took small projects, initially focusing on building my portfolio and reputation in the accessible design niche. Each completed project brought not just income but a sense of accomplishment and purpose. I found profound meaning in designing spaces that made life easier for people with disabilities. The gratitude from clients who could finally navigate their homes or workplaces with dignity fueled my passion. I began volunteering at the rehabilitation center, where I had recovered, offering consultations on how patients could modify their homes for better accessibility. By the second year, word of mouth had brought more substantial projects my way. A feature in a local architecture magazine about my innovative approach to accessible design generated significant interest. By the third year, my small firm had grown to include 2 additional architects and an interior designer who specialized in adaptive spaces. The business received a local small business award for innovation and community impact. The recognition validated the risk I had taken in starting over in a specialized niche. More importantly, it represented how far I had come from those dark days after Samantha's betrayal. Throughout this professional rebuilding, my personal life remained cautiously isolated. I focused on strengthening friendships and rebuilding family connections that had weakened during my marriage. Jake, now engaged to his longtime girlfriend Allison, persistently encouraged me to consider dating again after 2 years had passed. My first attempts were awkward disasters. I had forgotten how to engage romantically, and the fear of disclosing my health history loomed large. Would anyone want to take a chance on someone who had experienced a life-threatening condition? The shadow of Samantha's rejection for this very reason haunted these interactions. Everything changed at Jake and Allison's summer barbecue. I was helping with the grill when Lauren approached to ask for a veggie burger. She was Allison's colleague, an elementary school teacher, with a warm smile and easy laugh. Unlike the pressure-filled first dates I had endured, our conversation flowed naturally as we discovered shared interests in historical documentaries and hiking. What began as friendship slowly evolved into something deeper. Lauren had her own past wounds from a cheating ex-fiancé who had abandoned her 6 months before their wedding. This shared experience of betrayal created an unspoken understanding between us. Our relationship developed with careful honesty. I told her about my aneurysm and the possibility, though small, of future health issues. Instead of running away like Samantha, Lauren researched the condition, asked thoughtful questions about my ongoing care, and simply said, "We all have something. The future is guaranteed to no one." Still, I hesitated to fully commit, fear wrapping around my heart like a protective shield. Lauren demonstrated extraordinary patience, never pushing but remaining steadfastly present. The contrast between her approach and Samantha's self-centeredness became increasingly clear with each passing day. 6 months into our relationship, a routine follow-up scan showed a small abnormality that required additional testing. The 48 hours of uncertainty while waiting for results were excruciating. Lauren took time off work to accompany me to every appointment, holding my hand in waiting rooms and taking detailed notes during doctor consultations. When the specialist finally confirmed it was nothing concerning, Lauren cried with relief. In that moment, the stark difference between her reaction and Samantha's abandonment crystallized. One woman had seen my health challenges as an inconvenient burden to escape. The other saw them simply as a part of loving me completely. "You realize she just did what any decent person would do," Jake commented, after I expressed amazement at Lauren's unwavering support. "Not everyone would," I replied, thinking of Samantha. 3 years after Samantha walked out of my hospital room, I finally felt ready to open my heart fully again. Lauren and I moved in together, blending our lives with surprising ease. My business continued to thrive, with projects now spanning several states. For the first time since before my collapse, I felt genuinely happy and secure. Then Samantha reappeared, shattering the peaceful life I had so carefully reconstructed. The receptionist buzzed my office. "There is a Samantha Collins here to see you. She does not have an appointment but says it is urgent." My blood ran cold at the name. 4 years had passed since our divorce was finalized. 4 years of rebuilding and healing. What could possibly be urgent now? Curiosity overcame my initial instinct to refuse the meeting. I asked my receptionist to show her in quickly, texting Lauren that my ex-wife had unexpectedly appeared at my office. Lauren's immediate response was supportive but cautious. "I trust you. Call me after if you need to talk." When Samantha walked through my door, I barely recognized her. Gone was the polished, confident marketing executive. Her normally immaculate hair was pulled back carelessly, her makeup minimal. She had lost weight, but not in a healthy way. Most striking was the nervous, almost desperate look in her eyes. "Gerald," she said, her voice catching, "thank you for seeing me." I gestured to the chair across from my desk, maintaining the protective barrier between us. "What can I do for you, Samantha?" She clutched her purse tightly on her lap, knuckles white. You look good, really good. I heard your firm is doing well. It is, I replied, simply waiting for her to get to the point. Tears welled in her eyes. I made the biggest mistake of my life when I left you, she blurted out. Not a day goes by that I do not regret what I did. The confession hung in the air between us. I remained silent, processing the surreal nature of this moment. David cheated on me. She continued, a bitter laugh, escaping her lips, multiple times. The final time was with his 24-year-old assistant. The irony is not lost on me. I am sorry to hear that, I said, surprised to find I genuinely meant it. The thing is, Gerald, I never stopped loving you, she said, leaning forward. I was scared and selfish and horrible. But what we had was real. When I heard how successful you have become, I realized how much I threw away. She reached across the desk, attempting to take my hand. I discreetly moved it away, pretending to reach for a tissue box that I then offered to her. How did you hear about my business? I asked. Frank from your old firm mentioned it at a networking event. Then I looked you up online, she admitted. Your company website has all those articles about your award-winning designs. I am so proud of what you have accomplished. You do not get to be proud of me, I said quietly. You left when I needed support the most. Her face crumpled. I know. I was terrible, unforgivable. But people can change, Gerald. I have changed. David showed me exactly what it feels like to be betrayed, to have your trust violated. I understand now what I did to you. What exactly do you want, Samantha? I asked directly. She took a deep breath. A second chance. I want us to try again. I know I do not deserve it, but what we had was special. Soulmates do not come along twice in a lifetime. The request was so unexpected and absurd that I nearly laughed. 4 years ago, this moment would have been everything I wanted. Now it meant nothing. I need time to process this, I said, not wanting to respond from a place of emotion. This is very unexpected. Samantha nodded eagerly, clearly interpreting my non-rejection as hope. Take all the time you need. I am not going anywhere this time. I promise. After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time, conflicting emotions washing over me. There was a certain vindication in seeing her hurting the way I had hurt, in being the one with the power to accept or reject. But mostly I felt an unexpected peace. The woman who had once held such power over my happiness now seemed like a stranger, one whose opinion of me no longer mattered. That evening I told Lauren everything about Samantha's visit. She listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. How do you feel about seeing her again? Lauren asked when I finished. Mostly nothing, I admitted, which surprised me. I thought I would feel anger or pain, but those emotions seemed to have faded. What I feel most strongly is gratitude. Gratitude, Lauren questioned. If Samantha had not left, I would never have started my own firm. I would never have discovered my passion for accessible design. I would never have met you, I explained. Her betrayal was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and yet it led to the best version of my life. Lauren squeezed my hand. So what are you going to do? I think I need to meet with her once more for closure, I said. Not for her sake, but for mine. 2 days later, I met Samantha at a coffee shop, neutral territory that felt safer than my office. She arrived early, a hopeful smile lighting up her face when she saw me. Thank you for meeting me again, she said as I sat down. I want to be very clear about something, I began, not wanting to prolong this uncomfortable interaction. I have forgiven you, Samantha, not because you deserve forgiveness, but because holding on to anger was only hurting me. Her smile faltered slightly, but she nodded. What you did caused me incredible pain, I continued, but ultimately it led me to a better life than I could have imagined. I am actually grateful things happened the way they did. So you are saying there is a chance for us, she asked, misinterpreting my words. No, I said firmly. I am saying I have moved on completely. I am in a relationship with someone who has shown me what real commitment looks like. Someone who would never abandon me at my lowest point. Samantha's expression cycled through disbelief, anger, and finally defeat. She cannot know you like I do, she argued weakly. You are right. She knows me better, I replied. She knows the man I became after surviving both a health crisis and betrayal. That man is stronger, wiser, and far more careful about who he trusts. I made one mistake, Samantha pleaded. It was not a mistake. It was a choice made repeatedly over months. I corrected her. And it revealed your character. I wish you healing and growth, Samantha. I hope you find happiness, but it will not be with me. Her final attempts to change my mind grew increasingly desperate, evolving from tears to anger. When she realized I was unmovable, she finally accepted defeat. "I really did love you," she said as a parting shot. "Perhaps in your way," I conceded. "But love without loyalty and commitment is just a feeling, and feelings fade when tested. I deserve more than that. Everyone does." Walking away from that coffee shop, I felt lighter than I had in years. The final thread connecting me to my past with Samantha had been severed. I was completely free. That night, I asked Lauren to marry me, not as a reaction to Samantha's return, but because her reappearance had crystallized what I already knew. I had found someone truly worthy of trust, someone who had proven she would stand by me through anything. Lauren said yes, tears of joy streaming down her face. This journey has taught me that the people who leave when times get tough make space for those who will stay through anything. It showed me that sometimes losing what you thought you wanted leads directly to finding what you truly deserve. Most importantly, I learned that genuine forgiveness without reconciliation is the ultimate freedom. You can release the pain without allowing the person who caused it back into your life. Have you ever had someone who hurt you come back years later asking for forgiveness? What did you do? Let me know in the comments. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for listening. And remember that sometimes the people who walk away during your darkest moments are actually setting you free for a brighter future than you ever imagined possible.